Yeah, let's do this, and let's put us back on track.
Welcome to Stargazing, a Stargate gazing podcast. I'm your host, Mary.
And I'm your other host, Kathy.
And each week we review an episode of Stargate alternating between SG1 and Atlantis. Hello.
Hello.
Sorry for the delay.
No worries. How's your computer?
Annoying and stupid. It's just been an annoying day.
Oh no.
Everything is annoying and stupid.
What's going on?
Nothing that important. I mean, I was doing union stuff this morning, which was endorsement interviews for various political candidates, which is important, but the meeting ran half an hour longer than I expected. And then I needed to go and get a prescription that the pharmacy told me was ready, but then when I got there, they couldn't find the prescription. So because of those two things, I was then running late, and it was almost time to record when I got home, but I was hungry because I hadn't had time to eat lunch yet. So I was trying to inhale my food while getting ready for a podcast. And then, of course, while getting ready for podcast, nothing was loading and apps weren't working. So then I had to install updates, and then I couldn't get logged back into Cast, which we used to record because the computer was continuing to be dumb, and everything is dumb and annoying.
That is dumb and annoying. I'm sorry.
Yes. Thank you. And I didn't want to delay recording too long because I've got a protest thing I need to go to later. So I'm pressed for time. Not like super pressed for time, but, couldn't delay it too long.
Yeah. Oh, that's a lot today.
That's my day. How's your day? It is a lot today.
My day is okay-ish. I'm very tired. I think I'm just in a perpetual tired state. I wish I had a fun anecdote or something to, put us on track.
Kathy, you know who has no segue for today?
Who's that, Mary?
Because my brain is tired from sitting in a 2.5 hour long meeting right before this recording and then hanging out at CVS forever.
I do know this one. It's you.
It's me. I have no segue for today. Do you have a segue? Doesn't sound like you probably have one.
The
either.
only segue I have is know who else is really tired?
Who?
SG1.
Oh, yeah. What is this episode about that I don't remember off the top of my head, so I should probably get my notes open.
This is Stargate SG1, Season 10, Episode 2, Morpheus. Ooh. Yeah.
Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is.
The episode starts with a recap. Vala had her kid, who is an Orosai and is a baby and then a teenager with the wisdom of the ages, but I'm not convinced because I work with a lot of teenagers and none of them have the wisdom of the ages, but granted, also none of them grew up in a day, so who knows. Also, there's the whole Camelot storyline, Merlin and his weapon that they're going to keep reminding us of every episode, but not actually show us the weapon at any point, I guess. And that's pretty much it. That's my recap.
It sounds great to me.
Yeah. Also, I guess we do have 3 potential locations that supposedly Arthur went to. So we'll maybe go to those places.
Yeah.
That's my lame recap.
Today, door number 1.
Yes.
Maybe. I think your recap was great.
Thank you.
We are in the SGC to start. Teal'c is returning from somewhere through the Stargate. Vala, Mitchell, and Sam are there to greet Teal'c. He has bad news.
Oh, how awful. To shreds, you say?
6 more worlds have fallen to the Ori, including 2 Jaffa strongholds.
That is bad.
Indeed, especially because he says they were overwhelmed in a matter of hours. Things are not going well. Also, Vala's evil child is leading the battles. They all leave the gate room and start walking. They're still talking about what's going on. Mitchell's like, wow, 6 planets in 8 days, and that's not even everyone they might play in the field. Sam is like, why haven't they just come after Earth? And Teal'c's like, maybe the ancient device is giving them pause. So maybe the Ori saved the best for last. Daniel comes running up. He's pretty excited. He's figured something out. He made a connection in the Arthurian myths to something. And he starts speaking what sounds like nonsense.
He does that a lot.
Yeah. And everyone's just kind of staring. And Sam leans over to Mitchell and's like, and you think I'm hard to understand. It was silly.
Indeed.
Daniel says he's got one of the gate addresses to one of the planets where they might find their weapon to fight the Ori / the Holy Grail. Woohoo! And then
Huzzah.
those are words Sam understands, so they're all like, oh, yeah, now we're ready to hear this. And credits. Credits.
After credits, we're in the briefing room with SG1, and Vala is there, and Landry is there. Daniel has been doing research, of course, as we know. He has been able to narrow down his search not necessarily to a place yet, but to a person. Sir Gawain, he thinks, is the specific person that will be the key to this for reasons. I don't really know why he chose Sir Gawain specifically, but he did. Mitchell asks if that is one of the knights who say ni, which I thought was hilarious, but no, of course it's not Mitchell. One of the knights who say ni are completely different than Arthur and his knights.
Yeah, duh, Mitchell.
Yeah.
We are now no longer the knights who say ni.
Daniel gives a little bit of background on the Welsh tale and Sir Gawain's story, but he thinks that one of the locations, this place called Vagonbrei or something along those lines, could be the Vagonbrei that they were talking about in the story from that planet. That, of course, does not get them a gate address, but it did give him something to look for in Merlin's library, kind of as a starting point for some information. And when he found a book about it, that is when he finally got a gate address, because there were some symbols engraved on a blade on a sword that apparently Sir Gawain once carried. Whew, we got there. We found a gate address finally. Woo! A long backstory. Why not just say, I found a gate address?
Well, he said that before credits, but now he has to.
He did, but it was a very long backstory to explain how he got there. I think he just wanted us to all know how smart he was by putting various types of background research into finding the one picture that had the gate address. But anyway,
Yeah.
they're going to go check it out.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Vala is very excited to be going off on a mission, but as Landry clarifies, it is SG1 that is going to go check it out, not Vala. Vala is going to stay there and break.
Aw.
Go team.
Poor Vala. So
She
sad.
looks very sad.
Then Landry is in his office. Daniel goes to see him because he wants to go to bat for Vala. He thinks Vala should come with them and wants Landry to reconsider his decision. Landry is surprised to hear this, given her history with Daniel. And Daniel's like, well, yeah, so you know how important this is to me, that she go. Daniel is like, I get it. She's a thief and a liar. But she did also help us a lot. She stopped that first super gate from going online. And Landry's like, yes, I know that, but she's still not trustworthy. And the Pentagon, he says, isn't willing to roll the dice on her. Daniel's like, well, maybe you convince them then? Because we really want Vala on our team for some reason. Daniel argues that Hammond had a similar decision 10 years ago when they were looking to add Teal'c to SG1.
I am not Lucy.
He was also similarly working for the enemy, perhaps not trustworthy. Landry argues, though, that Teal'c had a lot to contribute as far as intel and whatnot for the hagfish. And Daniel's like, well, she did birth an evil baby, so maybe she can help stop them because she has this connection to her evil child. I'm just going to keep calling her evil baby.
I mean, she is, though.
Yeah.
So I think that's fair.
Yeah. Landry, though, has made a decision in this conversation. He's like, well, if I go to bat for Vala, I'm on the hook if something goes wrong. So you need to keep her in line, Daniel. Landry is going to maybe give Vala a chance to join the team.
Daniel finds Vala in the hallway, and she's delighted when she finds out that she can go on the mission. But first, she's going to have to go through a psych evaluation before she's actually cleared to go off-world. She wants to know what that is, and Daniel says it's just a kind of an interview that's given to all prospective personnel. to assess their psychological state and their sense of mental well-being. Vala's very excited, and she wants to go and study for this as much as possible, and she's going to use Daniel's computer to do it because, again, what can go wrong when you let some random person use your computer? Daniel says that, no, you can't really study for these things, and also you can't get on my computer without my password, but of course she's already got his password. So she runs off to his office while he goes to get ready for this particular mission. She won't be joining on this mission, I guess, but she'll be joining on another future mission as soon as she's done with this background thingy. We then get the wormhole, and we are on Vagonbrei. SG1 is having a look around. It's not looking great here. This town has clearly been abandoned for a very long time. It's the same kind of Renaissance village that we've been seeing, but all of the wooden supports are rotten, and there's just everything is kind of falling apart.
Spooky.
Spooky.
Spooky, scary.
In Vala's office, Landry comes by to see her and check in on her and asks what she's doing. And she says she's just doing a little bit of research for her mental health appraisal. Landry tells her that you can't cram for that kind of thing. And she says, that's what you think. So apparently she's doing all kinds of research into various types of psychological diagnoses and that sort of thing. She's come across the question of what do you consider your biggest flaw, and has the perfect answer of that her flaw is that she's too much of a perfectionist because she's putting a positive spin on a negative, and that sort of cliche. Her next question is, you're in a desert and you see a tortoise lying on his back in the hot sun. You decide not to help. Why? And she comes up with the answer that it must be because she is also a tortoise.
I enjoyed that.
I thought that was very funny. Landry just wandered off.
Yeah, it's entertaining.
Why would you decide not to help the poor tortoise, Kathy?
I spend a lot of time watching bears on camera in Alaska, and people ask a lot if rangers are going to go help the bears, and it is not their place to help the bears, and it might not be my place to help the tortoise.
It's true.
There are exceptions, like if it's a human doing the thing. They've done bear rescues of bears that got caught in snares and stuff.
Yeah.
But if it's just bear on bear action, if there's a baby cub that's been injured, they're not going to go out there and save them. And same with the tortoise. Yeah. Tortoise is just living its tortoise life.
Indeed.
And who am I to interfere in that?
Fair.
How about you?
Is it going to do more harm than good? If it's got a broken shell and me picking it up and flipping it over is going to potentially kill it, then I might let it just stay there, and hopefully if it's healthy enough, it'll flip itself back over. And if it's not healthy enough, nature will take its course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if I'm what am I doing out there in the woods? Am I running somewhere because somebody that I am with is injured and it's going to take time away from saving them to save this tortoise? Then I'm going to save the human rather than the tortoise if it's going to take extra time to save the tortoise. If it's a giant tortoise and it's heavy, then I need to, pry it over or whatever. Yeah, it would depend. Yeah. But, if at all possible, I'd probably help the tortoise. Fair. If it was just flipped on its back, I would definitely try to give it a hand. But I was thinking about this. Those are probably the only two circumstances. If flipping it over and helping it would do more harm than good, or if it would somehow delay me in doing something more important, helping someone that is in a greater need.
The greater good. Have moved turtles off the canal trail before.
Yeah.
Don't get run over, please.
Same. I've stopped my car to move turtles out of the street and stuff like that, too. Because I do not want them getting smooshed.
No, it's not their fault. We decided to put dumb roads and paved things through their environment.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so. All right, tortoise. But also, if you're a tortoise, maybe you can't help the other tortoise.
Yeah.
Or you don't want to.
Your point is correct, and that, yes, I probably should actually just leave the tortoise if it got itself in that situation. Because that is technically the correct course of action.
And if you can't be technically correct, then what's the point?
The best kind of correct.
Fair question.
So, Stargate, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Then we're back with SG1 on Vagonbrei. They go into one of the houses there. Daniel spots a door and heads in, and he's like, guys, come along. So they follow along, and they find some dead people that look like they just went to sleep and died in their bed. And Mitchell's like, I thought I liked to sleep in. Mitchell is given all the jokes today.
Indeed.
They call in a doctor, Dr. Reimer, and another team to assess the situation with the skeletons they found. He's like, I see you've got a medical mystery on your hands. That's not how he talks, but that's how he's going to talk when I put words in his mouth.
Haven't we seen him before?
Yes, we have seen him before.
Yeah. He was the same guy that, well, one of the people that replaced Daniel when he was dead, one of the many times he's been dead, right?
I looked it up because I was like, oh, who do I know? He was Malachi in the Window of Opportunity episode.
Oh, okay.
Which is the, it's the one where Jack and Teal'c get stuck in a time loop.
Oh, right. Yeah. But yeah, so I think he is the guy that I'm thinking of because at some point, doesn't he join SG1 when Daniel goes missing or something?
Possibly.
I think.
God, I really should.
Or he was a student of Daniel's, or maybe both.
I should remember these episodes.
Okay, but
better.
He was on an SG1 team before at some point.
Yes,
but then his character died, so he's a different person now. I guess
it's totally fine. They do that all the time.
Yes.
He wants to know if there's anything left besides bones.
Look at the bones!
And Mitchell says, nope. Whatever happened, it was a long time ago, but he is ready to go to work as this new guy, Dr. Reimer. He's going to figure it out. Gung-ho.
Indeed. In whatever archives they've managed to find, Daniel is, of course, reading through some books and some parchments that have managed to not fall apart yet, so that's convenient. Teal'c asks if Daniel's been able to figure out what happened to these people, but no, he has not. Best that he can figure is that Morgan Le Fay had something to do with it. He's found some ancient lore tied to the area that there was a cave nearby that used to be her home. And he goes into the Arthurian myth that Morgan was a powerful sorceress and Arthur's half-sister and an adversary of Merlin. So maybe she had something to do with the weapon disappearing, or maybe she had something to do with all the bad stuff that went down in this town. Who knows? She supposedly was able to practice magic like Merlin did, so maybe she was even ascended like he was.
I like to hide weapons and toy with people, too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who doesn't? I like to live in caves.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's pretty much the gist of their story. They're guessing that maybe she took the weapon and is now hiding on one of the 3 worlds that they're trying to search. So they want to go find that cave.
Ooh, a cave. I don't know why I said that. So that's what they're going to go try to do. They're next out walking around in the forest on this planet. There's a guy with them, Ackerman. I don't think we know him from anything else.
I don't think so.
But he's hanging out with SG1, which you know is going to mean good things for him.
Of course.
Yeah. He's whining about being on this hike. He'd like to be off in bed. He's been up 18 hours straight already. Nobody cares, though.
Being awake for 18 hours straight, that's not that long of a stretch to be awake.
No.
There's 24 hours in it.
That's true. Lately, I've only been sleeping about 6 of those, so I've also often been up 18 hours straight.
I mean, right. I was going to say, if you, a lot of people get about 6 hours of sleep a night, so, I mean, you should ideally get 7 to 8,
more.
But being up for 18 hours straight, that's not, a huge sleep deficit.
Yeah, especially, this one time. Well, he's just unhappy about it. Either way.
Yeah.
Fair enough, I guess. Teal'c stops them and is like, birds. And they're like, what birds? And he's like, yes, there are no birds.
Exactly.
You can't hear any birds. Exactly.
Listen. You smell something?
That's weird. Why are there no birds or any other animal life on this planet full of dead people? And they're like, okay, yeah, good question. Mitchell says, what happened to them? And they continue on their walk, thinking about the birds.
They do. And then we're back at the SGC, and Dr. Hutchison comes in to talk to Vala. Dr. Hutchison is the one that we had seen before, not the other person that we were talking about.
We've seen both of them before. They have both been in other episodes.
This is the person that I was thinking about before, who has been, Daniel has been an anthropologist on in the past.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't look him
But
up,
is
but
now
I
apparently
did see he had
a
multiple
psychiatrist.
credits. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is the guy I was thinking of. I didn't notice the other guy. In the isolation lab, Hutchison comes in to talk to Vala. Presumably, it is time to start her evaluation. So he introduces herself. He asks how she's feeling. She's feeling very well, she says. And she says that all things considered, of course, you'd assume I'd be a prime candidate for acculturation difficulty, enduring feelings of displacement and alienation, perhaps a little paranoid ideation, but I'm great besides that. Hutchison thinks that that's a weird answer because it is a weird answer. And Vala continues to spew out some technical jargon from the various psychology texts that she's been reading and whatnot. She asks how Hutchison's feeling, and he says, I'm fine. Then we're back with Mitchell and Daniel. They're continuing to explore their cave on Vagonbrei. They're not finding a whole lot in there, though. So maybe it's not the cave that they needed. Maybe there's a different cave. They are going to keep searching the area. They go get Ackerman, who is asleep somewhere. He's a little hard to wake up. But finally he comes to and is a little groggy, and they're going to head back out.
Then we're back with Vala and Hutchison. He's going to show her some ink blots. He explains he just wants her to say the first thing that comes to mind. So he shows her the first one, and she's like, courage. He shows her another, and she's like, respect. And he's like, she's not really getting this. He's like, this is really the first thing that pops in your head when you look at this blot of ink.
It looked like a bunny with a big butt and 4 ears to me.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. It would definitely look bunny-like, I think.
I don't remember the first one off the top of my head because they didn't have it on the screen as long.
Yeah. He tries to explain that he is not passing any judgment. They're just trying to get to know her better, and it's just to give a little insight, and it's not really about you, like, trying to impress him with your random words. He wants her to be completely honest and spontaneous with her answers. And she says, all right, sure. So he shows another one, and she says, kindness. Which is a little frustrating for him.
Yeah. He's not thrilled.
No. But I was entertained.
Indeed. Then we're back in the archives with Mitchell and Daniel after they've given up on the caves. There's some other team that's out, the red team. Since when do they name teams by color instead of by number? I thought that was weird.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not pink. It's like a lightish red.
Apparently that red team is going to be heading back to Earth, and so they're wrapping up here. Mitchell thinks they should do the same, but Daniel isn't convinced. He doesn't think that this can be a dead end. There's got to be something here. But apparently Landry wants them to come back, so Mitchell tells Daniel to take it up with Landry when they get back there, if he wants to come back to this planet. But Mitchell is not convinced that there is anything here. So Daniel concedes maybe Mitchell's right. They're going to need to get some rest soon, and so they're going to head back. They meet the rest of the group outside, but then realize that Ackerman is missing. And they take a look around for him. They find him inside a building, sitting in a chair. And he's asleep again. But this time, he does not seem to wake up. And when they try to shake him on the arm, he falls out of the chair onto the floor and is just a lump.
Uh-oh.
He is not dead, though. He's just asleep, we find out in the next scene.
We're pining for the fields.
They've found a bed to put him in a house, I guess. Mitchell asks, what the hell kind of diagnosis is that? But they don't have a diagnosis until they can get some blood work. So Dr. Reimer is going to be doing some blood work. And this is not a coma because coma patients don't respond to pain or sound or touch, but Ackerman is responding to all three. So it's just like regular sleep, except that he can't actually get him to wake up.
No, it's stunned.
And he does not know why. He's going to have to do a whole bunch more tests. In the meantime, Mitchell thinks that they should all stay here because if they don't know what happened to Ackerman, they can't be sure that this isn't an issue that they could be bringing back to the base.
I mean, why don't they just put him in one of those very secure boxes like they did on the bug planet?
Yeah, that worked out so well. Right, yeah. Reimer confirms Mitchell's suggestion by saying that Ackerman had elevated levels of serotonin, and it seems like everyone else also has elevated levels of serotonin. So probably they're all infected by whatever the thing is, or affected by it. He says infected, but we don't know that it's a pathogen. Sam asks if it's possible that whatever this is could be what killed the villagers. And Reimer doesn't really want to commit to going as far as that, but he does recommend that maybe they try to stay awake as long as possible, since if they all fall asleep, it's very possible they will never wake up again.
That's
bad.
The Norwegian blue prefers kicking on its back.
Next, we see that they've communicated all of this to the SGC. Landry is talking to Mitchell through the Stargate, telling him they're about to send through medical supplies to them. And he's like, do you want some more help than that? We can send more people. And Mitchell says, no, we don't know what we're dealing with. Seems dumb to send more people at this time. So Landry's like, cool. On the planet, Sam and the scientists and Dr. Reimer are at work trying to figure things out. One of them starts to fall asleep. Teal'c, who is wandering around, slaps him, which is fun.
Indeed.
And the guy's like, I'm awake, it's fine, totally cool.
His name was Grimsby, which I thought was funny because it's the same name as the butler from The Little Mermaid.
Is it? Interesting.
Yes.
All right. I did not remember that. Good memory.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mitchell comes in with the supplies that came through the Stargate, saying compliments of Dr. Lamb. They've got some caffeine pills and some other pills and that are uppers and even some coffee. Grimsby runs over and is like, I need all the pills in my face right now. And Mitchell's like, go easy. Grimsby's like, yeah, well, how long have you been awake? And Mitchell's like, I don't know, 24 hours. And Grimsby's like, well, I've been up for at least 40, so talk to me when you get there.
That's bad.
Yeah, that's much more than the 18-hour whiner.
Yeah. 18 hours, that's weird to be complaining, in my opinion, because, that's a pretty long day, as I said, but it's not absurdly long. 24 hours, though, that's pretty long. 40 hours, that's absurd.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
So I'm impressed that guy's standing at all.
Yeah.
Sam asks Mitchell, you've pulled all-nighters, and doesn't this feel worse than normal? And Mitchell's like, yeah, it does. Teal'c chimes in that he is also more fatigued than he would have expected given how long he's been awake. Sam's like, well, it's got to be the infection we have that we've confirmed, I guess, that they have an infection. It keeps you from waking up and makes you want to go to sleep. Mitchell offers Teal'c some of the caffeine pills, and Teal'c says he prefers to rely on his serotonin. So does that have caffeine in it too? Which I guess it's just healing Teal'c.
I wouldn't assume it does.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Just, the new and improved formula gives you that extra
new and improved
kick.
formula, tritonin plus caffeine. Yeah. Similar to like the energy gels that you can get when you're going out on a long run that are boosted with caffeine.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Teal'c declines, but Mitchell and Sam partake. Mitchell then asks Reimer if he's got anything, and Reimer says that Ackerman has been in stage 4 level of delta sleep or slow wave sleep since they started monitoring him. I don't know what that means.
I don't.
That's
actually
fine too.
either. I mean, like delta waves are a pattern of brainwave that, if I recall correctly, is the one that is associated with sleep, but I don't know what stage 4 level of that would be. I didn't bother to look it up.
No. Sam says he's also producing a surprising amount of melatonin, and that's what's keeping him asleep.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Melatonin is involved with regulating circadian rhythms, but it's not the only chemical in the brain that's involved in regulating sleep. Serotonin, from what I was reading, is not necessarily... It is involved in sleep, but there's also other chemicals that are involved in it too.
Okay.
That they didn't bother to mention in this episode. But there's like so much that we still don't know about the brain though. So I was also wondering did they actually know that things like adenosine and GABA are involved with sleep, and who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? We don't even actually, from what I was reading, know exactly what the role is of serotonin in sleep. I could be wrong, but it seemed like I was reading a couple different things, and it seemed like they were saying that we either don't really understand or the things that they have found seem to be conflicting about whether or not it's like helping us fall asleep or stay asleep once we are asleep or what. I was reading this a couple days ago and did not write anything down, but that's what I think I remember. About serotonin specifically. Things like GABA are preventing you from like responding to sensory input. It's just basically like down-regulating your nervous system. And adenosine is something that accumulates in your body throughout the day and helps you to feel more tired. Like the more adenosine builds up in your body, the more tired you're going to feel. That builds up throughout the day and then clears out, but that would help you to feel really tired. So like theoretically, if that had been discovered, it would have actually probably made more sense for them to be talking about adenosine building up in the body rather than serotonin here. But again, I don't know if they knew the role of these things back then.
Gotcha.
Yeah. In my brief overview of sleep biology that I did after this episode. You're welcome.
Well, they're going to go with melatonin. So they're working on trying to find out why they're producing so much melatonin.
Yeah. I mean, again, melatonin is definitely involved.
Yeah.
But it's not the only thing.
Yeah. Mitchell then radios to Daniel to find out what Daniel's learned. Daniel says he's found a handwritten entry from the village doctor mentioning a sleeping sickness. No, there's not a lot of detail, but Morgan Le Fay might be the source of that, according to this doctor. They think the villagers thought she cursed them for telling Arthur where she was. So that's fun. Mitchell asks if Arthur found her here, and Daniel says probably not. She probably escaped. And we have to go back to the cave either way. Yay.
Woo! Who doesn't love hanging out in a creepy cave on an abandoned planet?
My home, slimy. My home, this is.
My favorite way to pass the time.
Yes. However, next, we're taking a pitch stop in Landry's office with Vala. She comes in to ask if they've made any decision on her mental well-being yet, but Landry tells her that Dr. Hutchison is not actually done with her evaluation yet. They have to meet again later in the day. Vala says that she thinks that Dr. Hutchison might be troubled and might have Klinefelter's syndrome, which would actually be an XXY male. So that was a weird one for her to choose. That is not necessarily a mental health issue. That is a chromosomal inheritance. And she says, but she didn't hear it from me. That is one of the things I talk to my students about when we are going over reproductive systems. Alternate inheritances. It's not always XX female and XY male, friends, despite what some people would like you to believe. Anyway, Landry thinks that Dr. Hutchison is suffering from the headache that Vala gave him, and that maybe she should stop playing games and start taking the evaluation a bit more seriously. She thought she was taking it seriously. Landry thinks that that's a delusional memory, so Vala leaves his office very angrily.
The team makes it back to the cave. Well, the team minus Daniel. I guess Daniel sent them on this mission while Daniel gets to sit around and keep doing research. Mitchell complains about that. But Teal'c says, nope. He said it was more important that he do his research. They go to take some soil samples that Dr. Reimer asked for in case that's where the infection was picked up. And they get to work on that. That was a very exciting scene.
Indeed.
Back in the SGC, Vala is changing it up a little. She's got her hair down. She's got a little sparkly clip in there. There's a knock at the door. And who's come to see her but our friend Woolsey?
So this has been my project. I buy Hitler's shitty paintings, and I burn them.
She tells him she has, on her way out, she's got a meeting to get to. Woolsey's like, I know, with Dr. Hutchison, and I promise it will be quick. He introduces himself. Vala asks what she can do for him. And he says, what can we do for you? I think is the question that you need to be asking.
He sounded very extra doctor-like in this scene.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
His mannerism sounded even more like the doctor than he normally sounds.
He's a damn fine doctor, too. I wish I were half the doctor he is.
He tells her they can make sure she passes her psychiatric evaluation with flying colors. Vala asks what they want in return for this, and Woolsey's like, maybe you just do a little spying on Stargate Command for us? Tell us what's going on. Because even though we're all allies and we all get along, we don't always get included on all the information that Stargate Command has. So keep us in the loop, and it's going to be great. Vala's like, oh, so I'm a spy? And he says, you have a colorful history. I think this is probably in line with something you would do, so think about that. And then he leaves.
Vala looked pretty insulted.
She did.
Yeah. Then we're back in the cave. Sam's got a scanner of some sort. She's there with Teal'c and Mitchell, and she thinks that she's found something. There's a bit of an energy spike that she says when they went past something. And then when she touches a spot on a wall, it opens. And there's a passageway. So that's weird. They're going to go check it out. Seems like Daniel might have been right after all. Teal'c thinks that maybe one of them should go back to Dr. Reimer with some samples that they have collected, just in case. Mitchell agrees that that's a good idea. So Sam is going to go back, and Teal'c and Mitchell are going to go explore further in the cave. Next, Vala is hooked up to some wires. She asks if Hutchison thinks these are really going to hold her, seemingly insulted here. He says they're not restraints. This is a polygraph test. So they get started. He asks all of the control questions about her name and that sort of thing. He asks if she's ever stolen anything, and she says no. And of course, it detects that that is a lie because we know Vala's stolen many, many things. For whatever reason, Hutchison decides to tell her that she looks very nice today, and then she thanks him and says that he does too, and that also comes up as a lie. He looks a little bit insulted, so she keeps trying to reword it in a different way, and every way that she rewords it, including just looking not objectionable today, also comes up as a lie. She gets all flustered and is trying to think of something to say that will be true and not an insult, and it was a silly scene.
It was very silly.
Yes. Very brief scene. Then we're back on Vagonbrei. Sam is there taking some pills.
Pills here!
Reimer is there doing some research under a microscope, and he's found something weird. It looks like a little parasite, a little bug-like thing. And it's not dead, but dormant, so it's not actually moving around. But it's definitely not dead. It just was dormant, and they have apparently awakened it. It's been moving around a little bit. So they're going to try seeing what happens when they put it in contact with a little bit of live tissue. He pricks his finger and puts a drop of blood on the slide, and the thing starts to move around a lot. It apparently loves his blood, it would seem.
Yes.
And since the people on this planet would not have access to a microscope, there's no possible way that they could have known that there was any kind of microscopic parasite responsible for what was happening. So, of course, they were going to blame it on something like magic and a curse or something along those lines. And then Sam realizes that Grimsby isn't there. Where's Grimsby? That doesn't seem good. So now they gotta go look for him. Yeah.
While they're doing that, we get to watch Mitchell and Teal'c continue down the long cave they found. They're pretty freaking tired. Teal'c thinks maybe they should take a rest, but Mitchell says, nope, we gotta keep moving. He also regrets staying up watching Deuce Bigalow European Gigolo the night before, which I really think I would have regretted watching that regardless of how tired I was.
Yeah. Well, he implied that too, because he said he regretted it almost immediately. In fact, he clarified his statement.
That's true. They hear something, and they're going to go check that out.
Yeah.
Out in the forest, they are looking for Grimsby, and Daniel finds him. He calls Sam over, who rushes, and they both find he is asleep. So, another one's down.
Indeed. They take him back. Of course, they can't wake him up either. They ask Dr. Reimer if Ackerman's condition has changed at all, and Reimer says, yeah, you could say that. He's dead. So that
is a change of condition.
It is quite a change of condition, indeed, yes. Sometime later, they've got this room set up for an autopsy, and Reimer is working on Ackerman. Sam is assisting. They see evidence of a ruptured aneurysm near the pineal gland, which is what makes melatonin. And they find what looks like the parasite that they were looking at under the microscope, but it is way, way bigger and very disgusting.
Yeah.
And it was apparently in his brain, and that is gross.
Indeed.
Yes.
Why is it so big?
I don't know. Because it was, I don't know, eating the guy's brain or something, I guess. Gross.
Yeah. In the SGC, Vala returns to her quarters pretty upset. Woolsey is in her room waiting for her. And he's like, guess it didn't go well. She takes a moment before she turns around to talk to him to get her emotions a little more under control. And she is upset. She's like, I don't understand what's the point of this exercise unless it was to humiliate me. Those questions did not shed any light on my character or delve into my consciousness. They were reminders exactly about why I don't belong here. Woolsey's like, so you want to join forces with me then? And Vala says, yes, she has come to a decision, but we don't find out yet what that is. Because we are back in the cave with Mitchell and Teal'c. They see a reptile of some kind scurrying along. So Mitchell asks, how did this reptile survive when the parasite or whatever it is killed everything else on the planet? Birds,
a valid question.
Humans.
A very good question, yes.
So Teal'c thinks maybe there's a natural immunity it has to this affliction.
Dare we ask, though, how the exact same wildlife manages to evolve on every planet?
Request denied.
I mean,
birds and reptiles, etc.
We could dare, but should we? I don't know. Mitchell's like, we gotta catch. He names the lizard Joe Bob for some reason and bring it back to Carter and Reimer. And then they can reverse engineer an antidote, easy peasy, and then we'll get to have a rest. It's going to be great. Mitchell radios to Sam, but there is no answer. There is static, so they are probably, Teal'c says, too far into the cave system to get a signal. So they're going to try to get the lizard and then call Sam when they get out of the cave. They've got a plan.
They do. But next, we're back in that house. Reimer's working on his laptop. Sam is next to him, also working on a computer. Daniel comes in and asks if they've had any progress, and they've been guessing that the parasite enters the bloodstream and then triggers an immune response, which produces the serotonin, and then it makes its way up to the brain and then lodges in there and then feeds and causes all the melatonin. And then here we are. And it is feeding on the melatonin, is Reimer's guess, which that would not be a very nutritious diet. If it's eating the melatonin rather than brain tissue, that's okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, their analysis showed that the parasite that they removed from Ackerman gorged itself on this stuff. Sure.
Yeah.
So that's why everybody got so sleepy, because their bodies were so full of melatonin that this parasite had stimulated their brains to make. And just, no, all of this is bad. Like, you can't just make the body make so much of a chemical that it floods the entire body. Like, what's it making that chemical out of? Like, it just, it has to have the resources to be able to make that much melatonin. So anyway, whatever. So the parasite kept feeding, and then blah, blah, blah. That's it. It's this thing. And then the engorged parasite then affects the surrounding cranial tissue because it's this big giant parasite that is now pressing on all the brain tissue around it, provoking a lethal aneurysm.
Yeesh.
Gross.
Indeed.
So they're thinking that it might be possible to starve out the parasite. They have isolated a specimen that they awakened from a dormant state. And then Reimer has a heart attack. Not that heart attacks are funny, but it was just random timing.
Yeah.
Yep. So why they would be traveling around with a full set of paddles and no AED, like, this wasn't an automated set. This was like the full-on doctor use paddles. So Sam shocks him several times. And by several times, I mean like once. And then Daniel makes her stop, which all of that was wrong. No CPR was performed. All of it was just wrong. So
they're not doctors.
But Daniel pronounces him dead. So like,
yeah,
Daniel, the not doctor, pronounces the doctor dead, even though neither of them have tried CPR and they only used the paddles on him once after not actually bothering to check if he had a shockable rhythm.
Yep.
And that's that scene.
Yeah. So that's fun that they can just die awake too. So even staying awake won't save you guys.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is the kind of stuff that happens when you stay awake for too long. Your brain starts to shut down, organ failure, all kinds of awful things. Yes.
Yeah. In the SGC, Vala's wandering the halls and bumps into Dr. Hutchinson. And she is not happy to see him and tries to walk by, but he follows along. And he's like, you've got another appointment. And Vala's like, I don't see the point in going to that. You have all already made up your minds about me. And he is like, what? What are you talking about? And she's like, this has happened before. You know, I was a Gould once, and the people who dealt with me after I was no longer a Gould treated me horribly. And so I decided to take advantage of that and lie and cheat and steal. And she's not going to apologize for it, she says. And she can't guarantee she won't do it again. This is who she is. Although she says she's recently found herself risking her life for something other than her own personal benefit, and maybe though that's just a phase. Or she says maybe for the first time I've met someone who actually believes in me. And clearly she must be talking about Daniel.
I would assume, although I don't really understand why Daniel would believe in her, though.
Yeah. But she's like, you know what? You're right, though. This is going to pass. So she gets in the elevator, and that's about it. Yeah.
Then we're back on Vagonbrei. Daniel and Sam are trying to keep each other awake, but they can't take it anymore. Their serotonin and melatonin levels are spiking, and it's just too dangerous. They're going to have to rely on each other to keep each other awake. Then we're down in the caves with Mitchell and Teal'c. Mitchell is trying to catch the thing. They do manage to catch it in Teal'c's jacket eventually after a little bit of effort. Teal'c, specifically, is of course the one that actually manages to get it because Teal'c is awesome.
Yep.
Mitchell fell in the process and is not able to get back up after, and Teal'c tries to encourage him to get back up because they've got a long way to go. Mitchell tells him to go on ahead without him. Teal'c wants to try to carry Mitchell out, but presumably eventually realizes that Tritonin or not, Teal'c's got to get out of here because Tritonin's only going to get him so far, and Teal'c is not going to be able to carry both Mitchell and the lizard, even though the lizard is small. Realistically, Teal'c is fatigued and wouldn't be able to carry Mitchell anyway because he's so tired. So he promises Mitchell that he will come back for him. Mitchell says, don't worry, I'll be waiting right here.
Back in the house, Sam and Daniel are still busy trying to keep one another awake. Sam is walking around, but she is even too fatigued for that and starts to collapse. Daniel grabs her. Sam tells him she can't do it anymore, and he's like, we can do this. You've just got to hang on a little while longer. It's going to be fine. And then suddenly a bunch of people we haven't seen before in hazmat suits just walk in. It is more people from the SGC. They have sent people through to save their people, finally. Woo! So this guy is like, where's the rest of your team? Daniel tells him Reimer and Ackerman are dead and Teal'c and Mitchell are in the caves. And this guy is like, what caves? We just got here. Be more specific. He doesn't say that specifically, but there's no answer because Sam and Daniel are basically at the end here. They are collapsing. So he orders them put into the very special isolation pods that are totally not going to fall apart if they accidentally drop them. Yep.
Foolproof isolation pods.
Yep. Sam's like, wait, we can't go to sleep. And this guy is like, don't worry, we're on this. We've had some sleep. So no matter what, we'll take care. And Sam's like, you don't understand, the parasite feeds on. And then they're shut in their little things and go to sleep.
Back at the cavern, Teal'c manages to make his way out with his lizard friend. And the hazmat team finds him. He kind of points them in the direction of Mitchell, and somebody realizes, too, that he has an animal here that they're going to need to take back to the lab with them. And then that's it. Sometime later, everyone's all better. Everything's worked out. We're in Sam's lab. Everyone is awake.
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
They're not looking too awful, so apparently they've rested. They are recapping what happened to them, talking about whether or not they had hallucinations, and Sam says that when they put her in her pod, she thought they were putting her in a coffin and that she was being buried alive. Mitchell says that after Teal'c had left, he was continuing to try to convince Teal'c to go on and leave him for well after Teal'c actually had gone on and left him. Landry comes in and tells them all to rise and shine and asks how they're feeling, and they say they're feeling fine. Dr. Lamb has apparently gotten them up to speed. They collected a sample from Teal'c, and between that and the research of Dr. Reimer that they were able to find on the computer, they were able to create a serum that effectively isolated the parasite and starved it out, so they found a cure. Mitchell is not thrilled that the cave ended up being a dead end, and he says that we went through all that for nothing, but Daniel says, though, that he did find one reference in the library that could be useful. Apparently, it had a reference to Atlantis. So maybe it is possible that there is some information about Merlin's weapon in the database on Atlantis. Then a call comes in, and they have a problem in the gate room. So they're going to go and check that out.
And the problem is Vala is like, get me out of here. She's yelling from the ramp just in general at everyone. I never liked you. I know you can hear me. Get me out of here. Landry comes in to ask what's going on, and Vala's like, I'm leaving. I'm not staying here. You don't want me here. And you cannot make me stay here against my will. Landry's like, but maybe you want to stay because you passed your psych evaluation. And she's like, what? He says Dr. Hutchinson says she has a lot of potential and could make a significant contribution at Stargate Command. And Landry agrees. Vala is very confused, but she, rolls with it as she is Vala. She says as her first official act, she'd like to report a rather disagreeable man. And then Woolsey comes in and he's like, I am the disagreeable man. Landry's like, surprise, he was part of the test. You turned it down, so we know we can trust you. And Vala's like, yeah, okay, I knew that, but he had weird sexual advances. Were those part of the test? And Woolsey is like, what? I can't handle this. Vala just keeps needling it, though. But
being Vala,
yes. Woolsey is like, I would never.
Just remember, Kess, anybody can stargaze on the bridge, but the real action happens in sickbay.
And he follows Landry out, denying Vala's accusations. Vala turns to SG1 and is like, when do I get one of these badges? And Mitchell says, you're not a member of SG1, so you're not getting a badge. You're just a probationary member of Stargate Command. And we are going to be watching you closely. Don't screw it up. Also, welcome.
End of episode.
Pretty much. Although there's a moment...
Although there was one last bit, yeah.
It was just silly because she's like, I can't wait to get my part of the loot. And she's like, all the treasure we discover when we go off-world. And they're like, what? But apparently no one's explained to her about salaries. Because again, I assume she will get paid because I assume Teal'c gets paid, which is how we can have an apartment.
I would assume, yes.
Yeah. But maybe that's what happens after this episode ends. They explain that to her. There's no loot, just... a paycheck.
End of episode.
End of episode. Yes.
Did you like the episode?
It was okay. I felt like the scenes on the planet, and I don't know if this is a deliberate choice or my mood coloring it or what, but it felt so low energy. I had a really hard time paying attention.
That's because they were all sleeping.
I know. I think it was like, yeah. So it felt really low energy, and I had a hard time concentrating because of that. I found the Vala scenes to be the highlight of this episode for me. I thought it was very funny, her going through this test and not really understanding and her finally being accepted at the end. I enjoyed that part. So yeah, it was okay, but it wasn't my favorite How about you?
I agree. It was also okay, although my opinion is pretty much the exact opposite of yours. I preferred the stuff that was happening on the planet because it was more medical mystery type stuff, even though their science, as always, was not necessarily great. And spooky abandoned planet. Oh, pretty much always something that I enjoy. I thought that the stuff with Vala was actually pretty annoying. The fact that she was just using all of the psychology jargon in the wrong ways I found to be annoying because it was clearly she didn't understand what she was saying or what she was using it for. And I feel like so many people try to say scientific sounding things not knowing what they actually mean. And it is one of my many pet peeves.
Fair.
So it annoyed me.
Fair.
And the part more towards the end where she won't let anyone get a word in edgewise when they're trying to tell her that she passed and she is just continuing to yell at everybody about how they don't want her there. It's just like, just shut the fuck up for a minute. And I didn't know how all of that overreaction and not listening to anybody and not being willing to reason with anybody, I didn't see how she passed her psychological profiling when she went off the deep end at the end when she thought she had failed, even though she hadn't actually failed. So that whole part annoyed me. I was like, why? Why are you telling her that it's okay that she actually did this?
They know she's just got it's just her defense mechanism. They know.
But it's not a healthy defense mechanism. So if she's passing her psychological evaluation, I would think that she should have healthy ways of dealing with adversarial she should have healthier ways of dealing with confrontation than this. If she's going to
mass murdering.
This is not a healthy way to deal with an adversarial relationship. This is, like I said, basically going off the deep end. So she is not well adjusted. I don't see how she passed her psych eval.
All right.
Without any kind of coping mechanisms in place, it seems, is my point.
All right. Fair.
Yeah. So I didn't like the Vala storyline.
Okay.
I thought it was very annoying that she wouldn't stop and listen to anything anyone else had to say.
I was fine with it. Yeah.
Fair.
What's next?
Next, we are back with Atlantis Season 3, Episode 2. Over at IMDb, we once again have a very long description, although not quite as long as last time. Shepard and the others are now in control of the one remaining hive ship, with most of the Wraith transformed into human form courtesy of the retrovirus. They do learn something interesting about female Wraiths, however, after they return to Atlantis. The question becomes one of what to do with the Wraiths who are again human, especially Michael, who has proved to be quite helpful. Elizabeth Weir, meanwhile, is surprised to hear that she is to return to Atlantis as the expedition leader. She will be accompanied, however, by Richard Woolsey, who is to review her leadership and make recommendations to the International Oversight Advisory on whether she should be allowed to continue. Meanwhile, at TVDB, I should probably say that this is Misbegotten. I think I've missed the title in there, but pretty sure I at least said Season 3, Episode 2.
Yeah.
Misbegotten. The Atlantis team must decide the fate of a colony of Wraith they have turned into humans. Dr. Weir must defend her leadership when she is evaluated by the IOA. I much prefer those succinct descriptions.
Yes, agreed.
It's weird. There's only one more of these weird long ones over at IMDb. I don't really, like I said, I don't understand why they did that for those first 3, and then we're back to like one sentence descriptions after that.
Weird.
Quite weird.
Yeah. All right. Some crossovering happening.
Indeed.
Is it? Or no, Woolsey anyway. Woolsey.
Oh, Woolsey's on both.
Woolsey's on both. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
I don't think so.
All right.
Thank you so much for listening to Stargatesing with Kathy and Mary. Our fully listener-supported program couldn't be done without you. Show your support by telling everyone you know how awesome this show is. Find us at stargatesing.space. Reach us by email, stargatesing@gmail.com. Find us on social media at Blue Sky. Get some merch, tinyurl/stargatesing. And finally, show your financial support at patreon.com/stargatesing. Thank you for traveling through the gate with us. Catch you next time on Stargatesing with Kathy and Mary.
I'm Mary.
I'm Kathy.
And you've been listening to Stargatesing. The end.
The end. Oh my God, my brain.